Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Weekly. I'm your host, Luke from Printavo, and this week we're discussing cold calling. Is it dead? Is it alive? I asked Kevin Baumgart from Set Sales. You may remember him from Print Hustlers Conference. You can check out both of his discussions from past Print Hustlers Conference with the links below. He's awesome, and he had some amazing advice about cold calling and just getting more sales in general. Kevin is a serious sales pro. He's advised dozens of print shops, and you'll see why in just a second. But first, let's dive in and check out our content roundup. Here's what we've been up to. Our latest podcast, Building an Embroidery Powerhouse with Henry Ma from Ricoma. Henry took his family's business, Ricoma, and transformed it from a humble embroidery and sewing manufacturer into a content and marketing engine. So now he's got 135 people employed all over the planet, and they're on track to grow 40% this year. So what took this little family business that just sold sewing machines to the next level? Well, 2 words: content and innovation. Learn how Henry's thinking about the future, his super simple tip for getting more sales today without ever getting a new customer, and just see what this guy's thinking about as he builds a $100 million plus embroidery powerhouse. Check it out with the link below. Print Hustlers Conference 2022. It is happening. Folks, save the date, November 6th, 2022 in Fort Worth. You can go to printhustlers.com and buy tickets today. They're only $299. It's actually a 3-day conference this year, so this is a great deal. Check it out. Also, check out the Tip Stop. This is a new series for getting more out of Printavo by our own Steve Leichman. This is a series to provide you with super simple tips and easy things you can do to get more out of Printavo. Usually stuff you can do in like 5 or 10 minutes. And this week we looked at using automation to help you get paid. So we showed you how to request 100% down payment, how to keep tabs on customers who owe you money, and how to even task your staff with confirming that you've been paid. So you can read those tips with the link below, or you can head to printavo.com/blog and you'll see the tip stop right there. Staying cool. It is extreme weather season. I'm standing here in a hoodie, but it's hot outside. Heat is dangerous. And it happens in print shops because they're hot. You guys have got dryers running and you may not have AC. You may be working out of a warehouse. So here are our tips to stay cool. First, just use fans to your advantage. Cross ventilation, meaning you've got air blowing from one side to the other, is really useful. It'll cool your space, even if it's hot outside. So make sure you're using fans to push the air out and not bring it in. I see people doing that a lot here in Seattle, and I'm a little bit confused as to what they're doing. You got to push the hot air out. You don't want to bring hot air in. Second, just don't let it get hot. Open the windows at night to let in cooler air if you can, and make sure you have solar shading. That could be blinds, solar stickers, cardboard pasted on your window to help the sun keep from coming in. So really, you want to shade the southwest side of your building however you can. Just don't let the sun shine inside, and that'll really keep it a lot cooler. If your building has an attic or high ceilings, you can turn on your attic or ceiling exhaust fan. So hot air rises, right? So moving it around, it'll keep the temps lower and make it feel better. Exhaust fans can also help air out your shop. Also, turn off dryers and flashes when you're not using them. This seems obvious, but if you don't need to run it or you don't need it on right then and there, try to turn it off. If you do have AC, if you're one of the lucky ones, get it serviced. It's probably kind of late in the year to do that, but if you can't remember the last time you had your AC serviced, now's the time. You can probably squeeze a lot more out of that unit if it's running at peak efficiency. Also, hydrate, eat salty snacks. You need water to sweat, of course, but you need salt too. So it seems counterintuitive, but salty snacks are the difference between a really unpleasant afternoon and one that's just hot. My favorite is Fritos. What's your favorite snack in the shop? Let me know in a comment below. Also, water by itself, it can just draw out the electrolytes you need, so make sure you're snacking. Wear light colored clothes. So athletic wear, organic cotton, other light colored clothes really help beat the heat even inside. Use cooling towels. Towels dipped in cold water, just applied to your wrist, your neck. These are a great temporary relief. It can really help. And finally, stop if you or someone you're working with feels sick. Seriously, heat is really dangerous and it can just creep up on you all of a sudden. So don't push your limits. There's no reason to be tough. We're just printing t-shirts. If someone says they're not feeling well, get them to a cool area. Provide some snacks, provide some water, let them take a break. Remember, it really is just t-shirts. Heat stroke can be deadly. Take it easy. And next, is e-commerce dead? I mean, it's brutal out there. Check out this chart of the adoption growth rate of e-commerce. It went way up and now it's going way back down, even though it's still following the general trend. So Shopify has been really, really brutally hit by the renormalization of e-commerce. It looks like e-commerce is kind of returning to its overall trend, right? I mean, Meta, Facebook, has made a full round trip to the depths of 2020, and they seem to be really struggling with what to do next. Marketplace on NPR made the point brilliantly. Some sectors of the economy, well, they feel like they're in a recession. If you're selling goods, particularly, and print shops sell goods, but if you're selling services, things are gangbusters. You're probably in over your head. You feel like there's a boom and you can't keep up. So what should print shops do? Well, think about the services you can offer and consider how what you already do really is service-based. Can you play up your expertise in shipping or garment curation or just respond faster to emails and calls than anyone else? How do you clearly make the case to customers that you're not selling goods, you aren't selling t-shirts or prints, you're selling a service? It's just something to keep in mind. All right, let's dive in. Let's talk cold calling. I'm going to be honest. I'm not in sales. I'm in marketing. When I think of cold calling, I wince a little bit. I kind of get clammy. It feels like the most awkward thing you could do, right? But the reality is simple here. Cold calling, it works. Just not in the way you might think. So Kevin says that most of the research shows that it takes 8 to 9 touches at a minimum for someone to remember your name, your company, and what you do. 8 to 9 touches. 8 to 9. That's a lot. So cold calling isn't actually for some special person with a unique hard mentality that just loves to hear no. It's really just one step in the process to get the client to remember who you are and what you do and why you're bugging them. And when they do remember that, they'll call you. The Weekly is Printavo's weekly newsletter by me, Luke Gardner, Printavo's content creator. Focused on the custom apparel industry, The Weekly takes a microscope to the topics that matter. From sales to marketing strategies that work for print shops, to analyzing the state of the industry, to ads, to pricing, and beyond. Each week, we tackle one major topic. We share our best resources, our best ideas, and curated content from dozens of conversations with leaders around the industry. The Weekly is how to get schooled in the print game without paying a dime of tuition. So sign up, join 15,000 other print shops that are already getting The Weekly, and you'll hear from me soon. Cold calling for print shops. Is it worth it? There's email, social media, advertising. There's so many tools out there. So why bother with the painful and boring and stressful process of cold calling, right? Cold calling's dead, right? Nobody picks up the phone. Kevin says wrong. He knows that business owners and executives and managers, y'all get cold calls nonstop. And there's a reason for it. It works. He says that despite the endless series of options that sales and marketing have, cold calling is still really, really effective. People wouldn't just spin their wheels and cold call if they weren't getting results, right? So I asked Kevin, what do they get wrong about cold calling? And he said that they really, really underestimate the amount and velocity of cold calling that you need to do to make an impact. In other words, print shops aren't aggressive enough. And I know that sounds sort of silly, but you have to put a really strong, concentrated effort into automating outreach and making it have multiple touches, as Kevin says. But you can't stop there, right? Cold calling is outreach. It's not dialing. So it's critical to mix up outreach with a lot of different methods. You need email, calling, social media, different engagements, maybe even show up at their shop, visit clients, drop-offs, complimentary visits, lunches. There's all kinds of options for making a little impact and acting like a small cold call. All right, so if you're like me, you're probably wondering, how do I get better at cold calling? What does Kevin have to say about that? And rejection is really big in cold calling, right? Everybody talks about how you have to get rejected 1,000 times in cold calling just to figure out how to do it. This is a cliche. Like, everybody knows this. But I want to flip this logic around a little bit and change the focus of this thought. Success happens during cold calling, too. It really does. And it often seems like an afterthought. You just call enough people, one of them's going to say yes, right? This might make some cold callers blind to what's actually happening. They're not thinking about why and how that one cold call actually did work. So I asked Kevin, if you're cold calling, should you pay more attention to what worked or what didn't work? And his answer is really brilliant. He says to think of sales like a funnel. He says, I think it's less about what did I say or why did that message resonate, and more about the numbers and ratios behind it. Keep a tally of every activity that you do while cold calling. You should be able to track top of funnel outreach, so think calls, emails, drop-offs, all that stuff. And you should be able to see how many people say yes to a meeting. Then you track how many meetings result in proposing a solution. Then you can track how many proposals get you to a goal. So this seems like a lot of work, right? But there's a reason. Kevin explained that these metrics motivate you, and they keep the successes just over the horizon. And he said for every 100 phone calls he makes, he knows he's going to get one meeting, and that will keep people motivated to keep making the calls. So how do you get better at cold calling? You develop a system around what you're doing to make it make sense. If you've tried cold calling, you know it's really frustrating. It doesn't work. We covered that, right? It's a cliche. So Kevin's making it sound kind of rosy, right? Just call a bunch of people, track some metrics, so the sales will just coast in. It'll be so easy. We all know it isn't that easy. So I asked him point blank, cold calling sounds great, but what problems won't be solved by cold calling? And he had a good answer. He said print shops need to think about their shop's needs. If you're losing a lot of deals, if you're doing cold calls and they're not turning into jobs, there's something wrong. He said you need to think about the quality of the discovery you're doing. Then you need to look at the needs analysis that you're doing. These can be really, really important reasons that you're not winning and closing deals. But you can go deeper, and you can make that process something that follows a script too. Think about this. You could have a script of technical questions. It could be sizes. It could be quantities, logos. And you could follow that up with business questions. So what's most important to you? In what order? What do you look for in a print partner? How come you're looking for a new print partner? These discovery questions can actually set you up for success in cold calling because you know what to focus on and you know what to do. You know who you're looking for. You know if someone's not a good fit immediately, and you can go focus your efforts somewhere else. All right, I got a bonus for you. This is a hack for ghosting. We all know ghosting's super common these days. People just don't have to respond, so they don't. But if you lost a client or somebody ghosted you and you want to know more, ask. You can ask. So here's a really simple template, and we'll have it in the description below. It's just a few lines, but you can repurpose this for your own follow-ups. You could leave it as a voicemail, but I think personally it's probably most effective as an email. So here you go. Hi. Name. So, hi, Luke. I know you needed your merchandise by today. I just wanted to follow up. I really appreciate the opportunity to earn your business. I hope we can connect again in the future. Would you be open to sharing information about why you chose another provider over us? It would really help us immensely to grow our knowledge. And one last question. May I reach out and provide recommendations for future projects? Thanks. That's it. It's a super simple email. You can adjust it for your own tone, your own style, whoever you're sending it to. And if you just send it to them on the day that they were supposed to receive their merchandise, a lot of people will follow up. All right, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Luke. This is The Weekly. Peace.